I give you roses while you can still smell them. Like the world's gone mad.
Welcome to Chopping It Up. I'm your host, Fred the Freshest Bum. Got Dre Streets here.
Hello. What's going on?
And once again, we have the Vigilante Vegan back
What's
with
going
us
on?
one more time.
What's going on? Fred, before we get into anything, I just want to put it out there. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a motivational talker. I'm not a life coach. I'm not enabling anybody in any kind of way with what they're dealing with to use it as an excuse. I'm not enabling anybody to be a victim. What I'm doing is I'm trying my best to empower people to own what they're going through and to not run away from it. And I think that in today's society, we need more of it. We need more people advocating for people with mental health issues and you know, on all spectrums. You know, so that's what I'm here for. But with all that said, thank you for having me on again. Thank you for giving me the platform. To my brother Dre, to you, Freddie, you know, Taz behind the camera. Y'all don't see him, but he's a big part of this.
Very big part of it.
But yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak on this. I think it's a real big issue that have to be discussed.
And today's issue is mental health, anxiety, depression, a topic that's not regularly discussed in the black community. It's not regularly spoken about unless something happens.
Not easily taken.
Not easily taken. It's hard for people to express it too.
Right. And like you were saying, that most men really don't like to talk about it more. You said a lot of females usually open up about it.
Right.
And say like about that. Why do you think that is though?
Well, I mean, with women are more emotional or more in touch with their emotions. And, you know, you have men that feel like they have to live up to this stigma of being tough, you know, being aggressive.
Man up.
That's a term. But I want men to understand. I want everybody to understand, but I want men in particular to understand that there's nothing weak about dealing with internal issues.
Right.
You know, like if I can tell you, if I saw you walking down the street and you say, "Yo, what's up? How are you?" And I'm like, "Yo, I'm good. Life is beautiful. Everything's beautiful, man." You know, if it's that easy for me to express my happiness for life, it should be just as easy for me to express my my problems, like when I'm down. If I can express to you when I'm up,
right,
I should be able to talk to you when I'm down.
Right.
And you not get put off by it. And I think that's the problem with society now, is that people don't want to hear what your problems are. I know everybody have their own issues, but people don't want to hear what your problems are. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's a saying, I know you heard it, when you ask somebody how they're doing and they say, "Oh, you know, I complain, but who'd listen?"
Right.
You know, that to me, that's a conditioning that society has put on people to make them feel that nobody gives a shit about your problems. Nobody wants to hear what you're going through. So just suck it up, go on with your life, and just keep quiet about it. And I personally don't agree with that because, like I said, there are people suffering with issues for whatever reason, and I think they have to be heard because it's all a part of the healing process. You know, that there's a number of reasons why people get depressed. There's a number of reasons why people deal with anxiety. And a lot of it has to do with society. A lot of it has to do with maybe childhood trauma or things that are out of their control, you know? Yeah. Like a man might lose his job and he's wondering how he's going to provide for his family. And he might be out of work for weeks to months. And do you expect him not to be depressed? I mean, at some point he's going to have to pick himself up, right, and try to do for himself and provide for his family. But you know, some of us go through a period where we feel very vulnerable.
A long extended period.
Right, for some people, you know, I mean, depending on the person, like this is on a person-to-person basis because everybody has different personalities. Some people can suck it up and just go about their life. Some people dwell on things that happen to them and then decide, you know what, enough of feeling bad for myself. Let me pick myself up and you know, try to do better.
Right.
And honestly, and I'm very open about how I feel about things. I fit into that category.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of people do. And I think that society makes you feel like you just have to suck it up. Like nobody wants to hear you complain. Just go out there and do what you got to do. And you know, we talked about this on the last issue. Capitalism plays a big part in why people are depressed because you're forced to go out into society and earn a living. You're forced to go out into society and compete with other people. And you're dealing with a lot of negativity. You're dealing with people that have money that's forcing everybody else at the bottom to kind of scramble to get to the top where he is. So you're putting a lot of pressure on people that really a lot of times don't want to deal with that kind of pressure. A lot of people just want to go to work, make money, and go home. Then you have people that are very competitive in life. And, you know, these people sometimes get caught up in the whole rat race of life. And when things don't go their way, you know, it leads them to, you know, feel depressed. It leads them to feel, you know, negative energy. And a lot of times, you don't know what it is you're dealing with. A lot of people don't know how to identify it. But I think people, like, that's why open dialogue is important. Because you're dealing with all of these things. Your job. You're dealing with pressure from society and what society tells you what you should look like, how you should act, or you know, whatever it is. Family issues, maybe relationships, whatever it is. But people kind of compress all of these issues into a ball and they shut down. And they feel like they can't do that. And I'm here to say that it's okay to deal with these things because you're a human being. We're not wired to be perfect. And like I said before, if it's easy for me to express when I'm happy and when I'm doing good, it should be just as easy for me to express when I'm not feeling well and when life is kicking my ass. And, you know, and have somebody able to like either just listen to me or kind of relate to me and make me feel better about my situation. And like I said from the beginning, I'm not saying any of this to enable somebody to just walk around and be depressed. Nobody wants to be depressed.
It's dangerous too.
Oh, yeah, it is, especially for men. And the reason why is because men are not honest and open about what they're dealing with.
Right.
Women could talk about it. Women go through things. They call their girlfriend. You know, they can talk about it. A guy cannot call his boy and tell him, yo, man, I'm going through this, that, and the third. He don't want to hear that shit.
I'll be doing that.
I mean, we're going to get into you in a minute. Pause. But in all seriousness, like, because there's a lot of, like, we had a I'm not gonna say we had a rough childhood,
Right.
but we've been through some shit that, you know, I'm pretty sure we wish we could avoid it. You know, but getting back to the whole thing with men and, like, listen, depression leads to suicide. And statistically, the people committing suicide are young men, young like as 15 to 25 years old. And the reason that is because they don't have anybody to open up to.
Right.
They're going through things. Maybe they're getting bullied at school. Maybe they're being tormented. Maybe there's something going on in the house and they don't know how to react to these things. They don't know who to talk to about these things. So they hold it inside and then they end up killing themselves. Like, you know how many times you look at the news, a little 10-year-old boy killed himself because he was getting teased at
Right.
school or something was going on at home that was out of his control. You know? And kids in their teenage years that are offing themselves because they can't deal with what's going on in their life. There's not an outlet for young boys, and there's not an outlet. I'm not going to say there's not an outlet.
Right. There's always somebody to talk to. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I watched one of your videos, and I remember you saying, you know, like, if I come to talk to you, don't give me that, oh, you got to think positive crap. Please, I don't want to hear that.
Right.
But do you believe in certain, like, I'm talking about just for yourself. Like, in certain, like, people bringing negative energy around you, do you believe, like, I don't think I could talk to this particular person about my problems?
Yeah, no, I think everybody has that. Like, just based on my experience of talking with people that battle depression themselves, they encounter these type of people where people are very dismissive of their own problems, of their problems.
Right.
You know, and they say very, very hollow, meaningless things like what you just said. Just think
Right.
positive. What the fuck does that mean? You know, like to somebody battle. Do you know what depression feels like?
To somebody going through something, I've been guilty of that. Just saying, oh, just think positive. I've been guilty of that. But thinking about it is like,
Do you mean it when you say it though?
yeah.
Okay. I feel like a lot of people say that. Not
No.
people say that just,
I mean it.
they don't know what else
because
to say. Because I'm the type of person I don't know what to say to people sometimes. Like I
Yeah,
really
you're right.
I can't help you.
you're right.
You know
You're
what I'm
right.
saying? Like I really can't help you. So I'm just
But
like
sometimes all they need is an ear. That's all they need. If they
I'm good to talk to, but
if
it
they
depends on what
choose
it
to
is.
talk to you and then just unload everything, then they consider my belief, they consider you
Some people need to vent.
a close person.
Right. Some people
Right.
just like to chat though.
You're right. Some people do.
They don't. They will
Some
tell
people
any
tell
and
everybody their
problems. That's
fucking
what-
problems. But then
Right. But
you
that,
got you
but
got
that's
you
that's
got
a sign. That shows me that you really need to get this off your chest.
right.
Because you're just going to anybody and telling them your deep problems like that.
A lot of times it's a cry for help.
Right.
You know what I'm
Like, It's
saying?
deep.
Right.
A lot of times people don't know who to turn to or have anyone to turn to. Not everybody have resources to see a therapist. Not everybody has insurance that.
Sorry to hear that, Mocha. I hear you. I'm talking to you. Go ahead.
Not everybody has the resources to go see a therapist. So a lot of times people cry for help. I'm guilty of that. Listen, I'm a 40-year-old black man right now telling you that I cry for help a lot of times because I want people to understand what I'm going through. Not so much that I want people to feel bad for me. I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. Like, I made it this far in my life. I'll be okay. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But people cry for help, and a lot of times they want to be heard. And I think that's very important to somebody dealing with depression. And, you know, there's different levels of it. But people just want to be heard.
Right.
And people don't want to walk around with that burden on them. Like I said, nobody wants to walk around depressed. It's
Nobody wants that black cloud following them all the fucking time.
It's the most vulnerable feeling in the world, and I'm telling you from experience because I'll go through it, and a lot of times it'll hit me, and I don't know why.
Right.
You know, I've spoken to a therapist before. Me personally, I found it useless.
Therapy?
Yeah, because you're talking to somebody that's just there to listen to you, and you know they can give you advice or they can tell you what they think you should be doing to deal with depression, but like I said, it's based on person to person,
Right. Situation to situation.
situation to situation, right,
I would never sit down with a therapist.
right, and like I think you would feel better talking to somebody that you consider a
comfortable
close
around.
friend, a relative that you trust, something like that. But a lot of times we do open up to people that don't give a fuck, that
Right.
will talk shit about you when
Right.
you turn your back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
like,
tell
this nigga weak.
or in our community, especially in our community, and you hear this a lot. It's like people tell you, listen, man, anybody got time for that shit, man? You know,
Yeah.
like this is you just gotta push through. I've heard this before. You just gotta push through. Ain't nobody got time for depression.
Yeah.
Like what do you like? How do you like? It's
Life
very
goes on.
insincere to
Keep
say
going.
things like that. You can't say that to somebody dealing with it. Like I said,
Yep.
it's a numbness. Your body and your mind shuts down. Just based on the things that you're dealing with. And it could be anything. Like I said, I personally deal with a lot of past trauma. You understand? Like we lost our parents when we were young, and I don't use that as an excuse. I'm just giving you an idea of why I deal with the things that I deal with. And just growing up in a home where we felt more tolerated than loved, like that still like hurts me.
Right.
And it's something I think about a lot. A lot of times I can't help it, but there's things that I see or things that I might hear that might make me drift off into the past and think about like a very hard time in my life. And that might trigger the depression. Right. Something that I'm going through at the moment I might be in a negative situation. That might trigger the depression. But it's a very numbing feeling where you want to lay down and you don't want to do shit. it's like you feel like less than a man. And I can tell from a masculine standpoint, you feel like less than a man. And it fucks with you. And in all honesty, like I said before, what I realize is that it's normal to feel that way because we're not always going to be at our highest.
Right.
You understand?
not always
Sometimes you're
gonna
going
be
to be
sunshine.
very right. Sometimes you're going to be very low, and you have to embrace those feelings and push through them. And this is not, you just got to think positive. Because
Right,
there's no
right.
thinking positive when you're in that mind state at all, because you don't want to do anything. The things that you find joy in they seem like a chore. Like a lot of times I'll try to tell myself, yo, dude, just go for a bike ride, and I just won't get up. Or dude, just write a poem or something, and I can't do it. A lot of times I'll just write like a lot of negative shit, man, because what it does is when you feel that vulnerable, it plays on your self-esteem. It makes you feel like you're worthless, like you're nothing. And you start to believe that shit. And there's a part of me right now that kind of believes that. Like when people tell me positive things about me, I don't take well to hearing it, because in my mind, you're just telling me that to make me feel better about me feeling like a piece of shit. You know, and I appreciate when people do tell me things. I do. But there's a dark part of me that just doesn't believe what I'm hearing. You know what I mean? And it's because that your vulnerabilities make you feel like you're less than what you are.
You got a question?
You mentioned trying to get out of it, like going for a bike ride. Wouldn't something that would take your mind off of it, I would feel would help the situation. But there'll be, like you said, there'll be times you don't even feel like getting up. So what happens in those cases when you're feeling like that?
Like I said, it's you feel everything and nothing at all. When I say you feel everything, you feel
You feel hair growing on your arm.
No, you feel everything that bothers you. Your mind starts to go to places where you have no control over it. Like I can be in a depressed state, and like something might have brought me to that state, and I can start thinking about everything else.
Do you overthink?
I'm a chronic overthinker. And that's what leads me to like having like bad anxiety attacks too, because I worry about shit that's really
But if it's
not
not in your control,
real.
you really have no way to handle it. No way to, like, if it's beyond your control, if something happens beyond your control, why are you taking it out on yourself?
Like I said, when you're in that moment, your vulnerabilities are playing on you. You know, it's like you talking to yourself and you doubting yourself, and you don't believe anything good about you because you feel weak. And it's like when you're looking at somebody that's weak and you don't feel pity for them. You feel like you're looking at just like you need to pick yourself up. Look at you. You're a mess. You know?
Yeah.
Like, and that's how it feels. And I think people that suffer with it more can attest to that. They have very low confidence in themselves, very low self-esteem, and you know, every good quality that you might have just doesn't seem like it matters. And just to that point is like you're just talking to me. I'm just a regular guy.
Right.
You know, I work for a living like most of America, most of the world, whatever. But take into consideration that you have musicians and celebrities that deal with mental health issues. And now these people have looks, they have money, you know, anything they want.
And they still
deal with depression. You know, and a lot of people feel like when you have certain things going for you that you're not supposed to be depressed, because we place our values on material and
wealth,
material things, and things that are considered to be vanity.
right.
You know, oh, you're a good-looking guy, you got this going on, you got that going on, why are you depressed? Those qualities have nothing to do with a person's mental health.
Right.
Right.
You understand? One thing has nothing to do with another. How much money you have, or anything pertaining to that. It has nothing to do with mental health. You don't know what people go through in their life. Like you see a celebrity on TV, you don't see their past.
Right.
You don't know what they dealt with. You don't know what events keep playing over and over in their mind that they can't let go.
What could trigger
Or what
a
could trigger
memory.
it. Right, exactly. And that's what we're dealing with. And when people say you just got to get over it, a lot of things are hard to forget. Imagine a woman who's been raped. Let's say, and I don't mean to get graphic here, but I'm just trying to like paint a picture for you so you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So excuse me if I offend somebody, because I don't mean to do that. I'm imagine a woman who's been raped. Let's say she's been gang raped by like 5 guys. She cut school, she's been raped. Are you going to tell this woman to just get over it?
Right. No.
You understand? Like, she's going to have to live with that for the rest of her life. At some point, she's going to have to push through, and, she's going to get older. She's going to have to provide for herself, in society or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's something you never forget. And there's things that you might see that might trigger those.
You might see a dude that look like one of the guys.
Right. I was just about to say that. Or you might, you might walk down the street.
Somebody that smells like him.
Right, exactly. So are you going to tell that person, oh, just listen, get over your depression?
Right.
That could trigger her depression. You don't know that.
Right. So you said therapy didn't work.
For me, it didn't. And listen, I'm not going to make it sound like I went a bunch of times.
Right.
But I know enough to know that it didn't work for me. It wasn't my thing. And I feel like whenever I'm in that depressed state, I just embrace it. As dark as that sound, but I embrace the darkness because I know that every moment of my life is not going to be cheery. Every moment of my life is not going to go the way I want it to go. So I embrace those moments and just let it, wear itself off. Whether I, just really overthink myself to the point where I cry and just like let everything go, or I just try to like sleep it off. But when I come out of it, I try to go back to doing things that will like make me feel like I have some self-worth or boost my self-esteem. I have days when I look at myself and, I'm proud of who I am. It's not often, it's not a lot, but I do. And I appreciate those times because I know what it's like to feel like a piece of shit,
Right. We got some statements. Some people family situations are so toxic, yet no one will ever know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the whole family situation. That's a whole nother topic in itself. But
I got friends I'm closer with, way more than family.
See, the thing with family is what I realize with this is that family feel like they know you and they know your personality, so it's like, oh, he's going through that shit again.
right.
Right. Realistically, and listen, you're not going to want to deal with somebody's issues all the time. Like, you don't want to talk to somebody every day, and every day they're telling you, oh yeah, I got this going on, I feel like this, because you'll think like, no, this is just a miserable fucking person.
Right.
Nobody wants to deal with that in all reality. But there are times when people are trying to open up, and I think you should allow them to open up. Allow them to get their shit off.
When was the last good venting moment you had with somebody?
With a person?
Right.
Like they actually
And did you
listen
feel
to
better
you.
after?
Yeah, I don't want to, she know who she is. And we spoke, and I even told her, I said, I needed this conversation. I needed to, and I appreciate you allowing me to, express myself, but maybe, I don't know, last week.
Okay.
I had a really tough time last week, and for a couple of days where I just, I was functional, but when I went home, I just shut down. I didn't eat. I stayed in bed, and I just didn't want to deal with any responsibilities, and that's what it will do to you. Like, some people neglect themselves,
Right.
like it's a serious issue. And just to get back on the topic of men of color. I mean, unless you had another question, because I definitely want to touch on that topic, and I want to talk specifically to black men or men of color. You know, because like I said, in our community, like, you know, we were taught from little boys to just, you know, man up, be a man.
Right.
You hear guys tell their little kids, be a man.
Right.
You can't tell a young boy that he's a man. He didn't go through the trials and tribulations of life yet.
Right.
You're putting responsibility on him that he's not ready for, and then it becomes a burden. Now, by the time he's an adult, and all the time you're telling him men don't cry, stop
He has
crying.
no one to talk to.
He has not only does he have
He
no
can't
one to
show
talk
any
to.
vulnerability.
Right, he doesn't know how. I've spoken to men that told me they don't know how to cry. This guy told me he went to his father's funeral and he couldn't cry. He said he felt bad, but he just couldn't show any emotion because he didn't know how. Because his father toughened him up as a boy. And what is he supposed to do now? These are the kind of people we're sending out into the world.
Right.
Like we're making it, we made it so that men that show vulnerability are weak.
Yeah.
There's nothing weak about that. I think it's weak when you hold that shit in and try to be a fucking tough guy.
Right.
I think being brave is being able to talk about the things that are bothering you and try to push through and have a support team that's there to try to help you get through the things that are holding you back. People that's there that's going to listen to you. They're not going to criticize you. They're not, you know, I'm telling you about my problems and you're telling me, oh, that happened to me last week. Let me elaborate. Like that's not help.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm telling you what I'm going through and you're telling me, oh yeah, I had a similar situation, and you start going off about your own fucking issues, you're not helping me.
Right.
You know? But you need, as men, and if you say that you have friends and you guys are really friends, like I said, when he's down, like it's your responsibility to be there for him when he's down and not judge him and not look at him like he's a coward or he's soft. And that's another thing that we grew up with. You didn't want these labels as a child. You didn't want to be called a bitch, a pussy, a faggot, soft, or any of these other things associated with showing some kind of emotion.
Right.
So that's why we hold it in. And now you're at a point in your life where you feel like you just can't talk to anybody about it. What are you left with? And you know how they deal with it? They deal with it through anger and frustration and aggression. You want to fight. You understand? Because you don't know how to deal with situations. You wasn't shown how to deal with your emotions. I have a son. My son is 9 years old. Very affectionate. He hugs me, kisses me, tells me he loves me. And that's great. I don't tell him like, yo, don't hug me, don't kiss me.
Right.
That's the shit we grew up with.
Right.
I don't want him to grow up like that. I want him to be able to express himself, because if he's hurting, I want him to be able to explain to somebody that you're making me uncomfortable and this hurts. I don't want him to grow up with fucking, trauma issues.
With what little black boys go through with police and systematic oppression, how do you allow them to be vulnerable?
How do you allow them to be vulnerable?
Yeah.
With everything that we go through, I don't see it as allowing them to be. What does that mean? Allow them to be vulnerable. What is being vulnerable?
Dude, exactly what you just said. Like, oh,
Like I said,
express yourself. Let me know how you feeling.
Right, but I don't see it as a sign of vulnerability. I see it as a sign of you just expressing how you feel. Mm-hmm. You understand? Like there's no vulnerability there.
Right.
I mean, to you, if you're the person dealing with it, you might feel that way, but that should be embraced as a sign of courage, that you're able to open up and talk about these things that are bothering you because you don't want them to bother you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, you don't want these boys to grow up to be men and they're just aggressive brutes, and only thing they know how to deal with their problems is through fucking aggression and violence.
Yeah.
That's why we have a problem the way we have now in our community. Is that men feel like they got to solve all their problems through fucking violence instead of sitting down and talking about things that bother you.
Everybody want to be tough. That's the thing.
Everybody want to be tough, but even people that are tough sometimes
they got issues.
Yeah, and I think they just listen. I don't think it's vulnerable.
Like you got.
I don't
think
think
tough with certain people.
Right.
You ever seen dude that be tough with just females but not males?
Right.
Like, what's that about? Like, he get crazy on his girlfriend or just women, but when it's another dude, you like a mouse. You know what I'm saying? But when it's a female, you like a gorilla. What? I don't fuck yo, know how to do dudes around. You like, yo, stop playing, man. Like,
childhood trauma.
Like, it's a tough thing. Like you want to be tough, but
Trauma.
I don't get that. Like I seen that
Childhood
shit a lot.
trauma.
I never understood that shit.
That's exactly what it is. But like I said, if you were able to allow these men or these boys to open up and deal with what they're dealing with, you wouldn't have this problem. Now, I'm not advocating for men to be soft. What I'm advocating for is open dialogue.
Right.
What I do advocate for is self-defense. You know, like, I believe in self-defense. I believe in self-preservation. I believe in being a provider. You know, that's your duties and responsibilities as a man. But I do not equate that with being an aggressive brute.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difference.
Right.
You know, like there are good examples of men in our neighborhood that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like guys that kind of played that father figure role.
Right.
And we looked at them like they were men. You know, Richard Green was one of them. Gerald Parker, I would put in that category.
Right.
You know, and there's a couple of others. You know, I'm like at a loss of for names right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't come off as being aggressive and
Right.
Right.
They were nurturing.
They were nurturing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But not allowing young boys to express how they feel, you're gonna have a problem on your hand. We have a problem now in society because of this.
Right.
You know, and listen, depression doesn't discriminate.
No, it doesn't.
You know, everybody goes through shit in life, and everybody deals with things differently.
Right. That's a fact.
Bad breakups, job loss.
Right.
Well, we're on family issues now. Any other thing you could think of, like, oh, this friend doesn't like me. I have no friends.
It could be anything.
It
Like
could be anything.
society standards would fuck you up.
I'm not where I want to be in life.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to have this at this age.
Right.
That's
Right.
things too. People be telling
Right.
people like, I hate when somebody say, yo, you 30 something years old. Why are you not in a relationship? Why are you not married? Why the fuck do I have to be married?
I wouldn't say hate,
I know people
but
that got married at all types of ages and they got divorced or it didn't work
Right.
out. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It ain't no age where you're supposed to do it though, but people act like it is. Like,
Right.
you know how many times I've heard people tell me, yo, Trey, you 30 something years old. Why you ain't in a relationship with a girl? How you know I don't like none of these hoes? How you know I don't like none of these hoes? Nigga, you talking about? You know what I mean?
But
I ain't
that-
find nobody for me yet, nigga.
that-
It, like, oh, it's gonna be too late. Nigga, too late could be tomorrow. Who say I'm promised to be here tomorrow?
But that all fits into
that's another thing. Sorry.
Right.
This whole, oh, I'm 30. I wasn't even supposed to make it to 30. Like, who is thinking like that?
Society.
I know, but that's the thing society
Living in the
puts-
hood, G.
Yeah, come on now.
It
I
all
don't-
fits into society standards.
Listen,
That's a
when
fact.
when you're told at a certain age what you're supposed to have, and listen, I fall victim to that too because like I'm in a situation right now, and I don't want to, get too crazy into it, but like I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in life,
Mm-hmm.
Like there are things that I want, not material things, but just peace of mind, quality of life, and I feel like I don't really have those things, and I beat myself up over it a lot sometimes, but it all falls into society standards. Society tells you you're supposed to have certain things by a certain time, that you have to look a certain way. Like how much pressure you put on people by telling them they have to look a certain way. When you put certain images on a screen of how a woman looks and how a man looks, and you don't fit that mold, that fucks with a lot of people because now you're fucking with their insecurities.
right.
And when you fuck with their insecurities too much, that leads them into that dark place where they feel like they're not worthy enough, And
Listen, the beach gonna get whatever body I got.
and listen, and you should be proud of that because not everybody could be the same. Like we're not cookie cutter,
Right.
Everybody's different, and I think we should be celebrated more for our, the things we don't have in common than what we do have in common because these are the things that make us unique. But when you live in a world where certain things are commercialized and they're telling you this is the kind of car you need to have or this is the
Right.
kind of woman you need to have or whatever, these sneakers will make you feel better about yourself, and it's like, well, damn, if I don't have this and I don't have that, then I'm worthless, and society will really make you feel like shit if you don't, live up to those standards.
That's a fact.
And that's where a lot of people's, issues come from. And like I said, these are just like minor little issues, but we're talking about people that have it worse off,
Right.
that can't get over things that happen to them in their life. That's hard to forget. I know I have, and I know you probably more than me. And we're two different people. We probably deal with things a lot differently, And I can say, and without putting too much family business out there, but Dre got treated like shit when we were kids, by our aunt and my grandmother. They favored me more than him. I used to feel bad, and that's another thing that bothers me is I feel like I wasn't a good older brother. I feel like I failed him as a brother, and I think about that shit a lot. And I think that if I was there for him, he wouldn't have been through what he went through. If I would have defended him more, he wouldn't have been through what he'd been through. And now, listen, there were times where I came to my brother's defense. Like, I had to fight for him. I won some and I lost some, but there were times where I felt like I failed him. And I feel like as a big brother, I ain't shit. And that bothers me. Now,
it's unfair, though. It's a lot. It's a lot of weight. Some of it, yes, but not all of it.
Yeah. Because he made some of the decisions too.
I get that.
Not as far as getting treated badly by relatives, but
right.
other decisions he made.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like I should have looked out for him more. And but that's just me being me. I beat myself up over a lot of things because I always feel like I'm always failing, and that's what adds to my depression. When I got told by my aunt on many occasions I was stupid, that I was an idiot. That played on my self-esteem as a child. That you start to believe that shit, and then you grow up starting to think that everything you do is never good enough and you're a failure.
You right, Raya.
And that's what happened to me. We have a question or
no? She said you guys need a female in there because black females in America, depression is just as severe as black men. I had my ex's best friend committed suicide. Took me by surprise. Like, I was dealing with a friend, but me and her got close to the point where we was on the same phone line, same phone bill and everything. And then, over a bad breakup. And it was rare because it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's rare in itself.
Right.
Women, statistics have shown, women don't kill themselves with guns. It's usually with pills or some other way. But that shit totally fucked me up for a little while. And then, so now, that's why I called you the other night, just to say, yo, you all right? When you was at work.
Right, yeah.
Because you don't know who or what somebody's going through.
Right.
And you don't know to the extreme that they're gonna take it.
Right.
So
And
just to check on somebody.
And I think I might have told you that I appreciated that you called. If I didn't, then I do.
Yeah, you did.
Right, because it was out of the ordinary. It was out of the ordinary, and I didn't expect it. But the fact that you called in to check on me meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I've been like I said, when you see people, oh, it's good to see you. You gotta give people who say Nori? You gotta give people flowers while they're here.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I want to go back on to what he was saying, real quick, about the whole. Oh, I felt like I felt you as a big brother. You could have did more or something like that. I don't look at it that way, honestly, because we both was kids. Like that's some. I feel like that's the responsibility more of an adult. Like when all that was happening and stuff, you was a kid too, though. You older than me, but you still a kid.
Right.
So I don't look at it like that. Like it's nothing. I ain't gonna say it's nothing you could have did, but I don't think it would have changed the situation of how they treated me. You know what I'm saying? Because everything back then that I used to hear from them all the time, they used to say was, "You a kid, you a child." Like I remember one time telling our grandmother, we call her Mama. Remember her telling her she was trying to give me. She made dinner. It was like stewed liver white rice and some shit, and I hate fucking liver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they made. I don't know who made that shit. I hate that shit. But she was like, yeah, she made that, and I went on the stove and looked, and I said, I don't like that. And she said, you too young to not like something.
Right.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. To this fucking day, I would never forget that. I don't even know how old I was, but I was young because I remember I could barely see over the fucking stove.
Well,
I remember looking in the pan, the black pan that she made that fucking liver in, the stewed liver with onions on it. Never forget it. My memory is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I can remember a lot of shit from when I was younger. Like no lie, I can remember when my who died. I think my father, no, my mother. I think I remember when she died. I remember being at a funeral. It was for my mother and father, one of them, and I was laying on my aunt's lap. I was laying on Dolly's lap, and I remember being there. I was laying on it. I didn't even understand what the fuck was going on. I just know I was there. Everybody was here. There was a casket up there. I was sitting on the lap. But anyway, that was the dumbest shit I ever heard. You too young to not like something. You gonna sit down and eat that dinner. You think I sat there and ate it? Nigga, I know I ain't like that shit. You made this shit 1,000 times. I don't like it. I never eat it. I throw it away when you ain't looking. I do like Martin do with the throw the steak behind him. That shit was the bomb, baby. Yeah, like that. Like I never but that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, what? You too young to, I was like, yo, I don't understand what's going on right now. But I don't feel like that. Like I said, about what you were saying about all that stuff. But I remember getting treated bad. I don't know why. I was like, I wonder if it's because he light skinned. Because I'm a little darker than him. Like, you know, that dumb shit. I'm young. I don't know what the fuck. You know what I mean? But
I don't. You know what?
how many bought you Jordans when you got left back?
I never got left back.
You got left back. Or you did bad. A report card. Something bad in school happened, but you got them fucking Jordans. I ain't get shit.
I like I said.
You had the used jean jacket with the pants. Remember?
Yeah,
The denim shit. I remember that. Remember used?
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I'm telling my memory crazy.
Yeah,
bro.
I can say that they, like I said, they treated him very badly. Like I got favored, you know. Like I mean, like I said, I still went through shit, but like I got favored more than he did, than my brother did, you know. And like part of me felt bad about it. Like I didn't feel as bad as I do now. Like I said, I think and I dwell on things, and that's part of my problem. Is that I dwell on things too much to the point where it brings me, you know, back into that dark place, you know, and I feel like, you know, you coulda, woulda, shoulda, but then you realize in life, like, you can't really change anything. You know, you can only go forward, and you can only try to make things better going forward. But like when you're in that dark place, you start blaming yourself for a lot of things, and you start beating yourself up for a lot of things, and it's really, it's you having a conversation with yourself, but it's really not you.
Right.
You know? Like I said, and for somebody who's never been in there, that's why, and I want to put this out there. For somebody who's never been in that state of mind, you have no right to tell anybody how to feel, how they should feel about what they're going through. The only thing you have an obligation to do is just shut up and listen to them, and if not, just don't, because. I think people feel like because they're not going through something and they're not bothered by anything, or they have the ability to just brush things off and go on with their life, that you should too. Like, don't bring me down with your nonsense. Just be positive about it. You need to think more positive. You need to put positive energy into the universe. Like I said, when you're in that dark place, man, there's no positivity.
Right.
You know, there are times when I don't want to be alive. I'm not saying I'm suicidal.
Right.
You know, I'm not suicidal, but there are a lot of times when I wake up and I wish I didn't wake up because it's that fucking bad.
Hold on. Beautiful Mocha had a comment. I just want to say, Beautiful Mocha, you're an extraordinary parent. Don't let nobody tell you different. You do a great job with Kamari. You've handled the situation extremely well. And he has the best mother that any kid could ask for.
Yep. That's a fact.
And back to what you just said. It's like,
But what you said she had a question?
no. She had a comment.
What was the comment?
She had a comment.
What was the comment, Freddie?
What was the comment, Fred?
At one point, I thought about killing myself because of my son having autism and being nonverbal. I used to think it was my fault for his disability, and it was hard to process.
Okay, now I understand why you were saying what you're saying.
Right. Sorry.
All right, I
didn't want to get off. I just wanted to say that and get back on track.
You know, like her situation, and I don't know this young lady, but you know, like she's dealing with a situation that's like out of her control. Like no, like if you had a choice, you would not, you know, have a child with autism. That's not. It wasn't her choice, but it's something she has to deal with.
Right.
And it takes a hell of a person to deal with a situation like that.
A very strong person.
Absolutely a very strong person. And I think that something that we should not lose sight of is the fact that sometimes these people feel like they're dealing with too much and they can't handle it, and then they will go into a dark place and start doubting their own abilities. And I'm not saying that this young lady does that, but it happens. But people doubt their own abilities as a parent. Feel like even though they're doing everything, they're not doing enough. Or what more can I do? Right. Or, you know, why did this happen to me? And, you know, like these are things that happen in life that are out of our control, but they have an effect on, you know, the way we live our lives.
And that's a question that comes to, like, people that, like, dealing with stuff like that. That question always pops up in their mind all the time. It's always like, why me? Why did this happen to me? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
It's always. And it's like, and that alone just have you feeling like, like what? Like nobody can't come tell you nothing. You could come and try to explain to me as good as you can. You know what I'm saying? Yo, listen, it's, you know, it's life, it's out of your control.
Right.
But that shit is not going to help, because I'm still going to look at you and say, but why me? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, you don't understand what goes through their head. It's like, why?
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. And to this young lady, are you going to tell her, just think positive? Why are you complaining? Just think positive.
Right. You can't.
Right. That's some dumb shit.
You know, like, no, walk a week in her shoes. Go through what she goes through in a week, and then tell her think positive.
Right.
I don't know your situation, and I'm not trying to downplay it at all. I'm just saying that don't tell somebody how to feel about their situation until you've been where they've been.
Right. Yeah. That's something. Well.
It's like when I was in jail. I speak to people on the phone. Yo, just hold your head. Just hold your head, bro. I used to be like, what does that mean? What do you mean, hold my head? Like, not literally, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But, nigga, do you know what I'm going through in here, boy? Like, I'm in here fighting. Like, I am not playing in here, boy. Like, it's times where I'm just like, yo, hey, I'm not with the bullshit today. You know what I'm saying?
My daughter's on there.
Taj,
hey, Taj.
what's going on, Taj?
If she's still there, I don't know. I know people are like dropping off. More people came in. Hello to everybody. I don't know if you just came in. We're talking about depression and anxiety, mental illness, how it affects people, how it affects communities of color, and things of that nature. You know, hopefully you stay till the end. Hey, Taj. That's my daughter, everybody. Taj Mitchell, too.
But that shit is crazy.
I'm very vocal about the things that I go through because I don't want to see her go through it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she should be 15 on the 25th. By the time I was 15, by the time I was 9, both my parents were dead. And that, I had to carry that. You understand? I had to deal with that, and I had to deal with the fact that my aunt really tolerated us.
Right.
You know, like, we didn't get hugs and kisses, and I'm not saying I want that shit now, but like I said, I'm not saying none of this to make anybody
hug it up.
I'm not saying any of this to make people feel bad for me. I'm just trying to give you an understanding of how people get to where they are in their life with the things that they deal with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I could not come outside to you guys and talk about what I was going through. I was depressed even then. Like, I would get depressed on Christmas. I would get depressed on New Year's.
Right.
Because in my mind, it's just another holiday and another day that I don't get to celebrate with them, that I'm missing out on.
Right.
You know?
Listen.
And then our grandmother dying and our aunt dying. Freddie, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want people to understand where I'm coming from. I went through a phase where I felt like everybody that lives with me will fucking die.
Yep. I definitely felt like I was always bad luck.
And I started blaming myself for everybody dying. I felt like I had this negative energy about me that anybody that lives with me or anybody that becomes my guardian will die. And, you know, after my parents and then my grandmother when I was 15 and then my aunt when I was 18, by that time I was on my own. I felt like, well, I can't, you know, kill anybody now. Not that I'm killing people, but everybody's safe. I'm alone, you know? And I felt like I was in a good place. And let me tell you something, man. Like my past has ruined
You just spoke about that, right?
relationships.
Yep. You keep going. I'm just-
Will ruin relationships for me because I'm at a point now, and I could be open about this. I start pushing people away, like people that want to be there for me, people that love me and care for me, and like I just push them away, and I don't know why. I mean, it's an insecurity thing, you know.
Is
That's
is
what
it,
I be doing. That's crazy.
It's more. I went through something similar.
Hasi Tasi, how you doing?
It's more about like you just don't want to get nobody too close for you to feel that hurt again.
Right.
Because you feel like something bad is going to happen.
Right.
Because it's you.
I feel like it's
Right.
something I will do that will like damage you, and I don't want to hurt you. Like whatever I'm dealing with, let me deal with it by myself on my own terms, and I don't want you caught up in my web of bullshit, and then you end up like despising me and damage behind, you know, whatever.
but
You
what
know,
if they genuinely want to help and be there for you?
I'm pretty sure they do. I'm not saying that these people don't. I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty
Right.
sure anybody that ever reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm here for you," is very genuine in their approach. But I have to deal with things the way I deal with them on my terms because I don't want to, you know, bring people into my world and then I feel like I'll ruin them. That's just me. Like I said, it's my insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's just the way my mind works when I'm in that dark place.
It's more about what you're going through, not them. They
Right.
could be the most loving person in the world,
That's a fact.
but what you're going through and what you have experienced doesn't even allow you to see any of that. Doesn't matter.
Right.
I've been through that a lot, so that's why I can relate to that.
One
You
thing.
ever feel like somebody tell you to open up and like,
You don't want to open up to everybody though. Like there's some people you just
Right.
want to
It's like, yo, I just met you.
like.
not even
you
that.
could, you
It's
could
just
talk.
like, I
you
just
could
don't.
talk to me, and it's like I appreciate that, but I'm not. You know,
I'm not there yet.
I'm not gonna open up to you.
It's also
you know?
at a time. Like, it
Right.
depends on the time they catch you at, too. Because you ever be in your mood or whatever.
Oh, you
and
ain't
somebody
talk to
trying
me
talk
all
you,
day.
then just like, yo, not today. You heard my man? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, like, just move. And you just want to keep going.
Yeah.
There'll be another time you might see me like, what's going on? And, you know, you might talk to them. Because I do that a lot. I see people and they be like, oh, you acting funny today. And I'm like, I'm not acting funny, man. I'm just acting the way that's how I am because of, like, the shit I'm going through. You know what I'm saying?
And-
you
and-
caught me at a bad time, and I don't mean to be rude to you.
And not
I
a
see you
lot
another
of
day and we can
people.
chill.
And not a lot of people are ready for what you have to tell them.
Right.
And I think there's something that you know that like they're not ready for what I have to say. You know, you could tell when somebody really cares.
Right.
You know, it's like I said, it's a hard thing, man.
And then on the other end, on the other side of it, the person,
When you get a chance, go ahead, yeah.
like, which all that loss you've dealt with, how would you expect them to talk to you if they never been through what you've been through? How would you have any, like, I don't know, pointers, or what would you expect them to do or say?
Expect who? The person that wants to talk. I mean, like,
Right.
that wants me to open
Right,
up to
because
them.
you know, like, oh, you don't know what I'm going through.
Like I said, I'm a regular guy. I'm no expert. I'm no therapist. No psychiatrist. I think the best thing you can do for anybody in that situation is just listen to them. Just listen and offer comfort. Listen, I have people, and this is real shit. I have people that will open up to me. And Taj, tell me if you remember this, because this is one instance. We went into a toy store. My son wanted a soccer ball, and there's a guy that normally watches the door. And Taj, you tell me if I'm lying. So, there's a guy that normally watches the door. And he's usually always like, hey, how you doing? He tells my kids, oh, your father's a good man. Oh, nice guy. I walked in that day and I said, how you doing? He looks at me and goes, I'm all right. Like that. I'm like, you all right? He goes, yeah, one day at a time. And when he said that, I'm like, that's not him. You know?
Right.
So I went to the front, we paid for the soccer ball, we came back out, and I'm like, you okay, man? He goes, I'll be all right, And I just reached out and I hugged him, and I hugged, and he embraced me back. And I said, I don't know what you're going through, man, but like, I said, I don't know what to say, but, it's gonna be okay, And he looked down at my son. He was on the verge of crying. He looked at my son. He said, your father's a good man. And I don't say this, you know, for, you know, people to like praise me. Oh, I'm such a great person. Oh, he's hugging people that's going through fucking problems. I'm just saying that I don't know what that man was going through, and I don't know if he would have opened up to me because he just knows me as a customer. But the only thing that I knew what to do at that time was just to embrace him and hug him, because I felt like when I was at my lowest points, like when I was dealing with the shit that I was dealing with as a teenager, that's what I want. I wanted somebody to hug me and tell me it's going to be all right. You know, because I didn't get that as a kid. I wanted somebody to hug me and tell me, listen, stop worrying. I got you. It's going to be okay. And that's the only reaction I could come up with, is to give this man a hug and let him know I feel your pain. Like, I don't know what you're going through, but I feel you. And like I do that a lot to a lot of people. Like when people tell me, you know, one day at a time, you know, the cliche shit people say, I give them a hug. And they're very thankful for it, because that's the only way I know how to help them deal with what they're dealing with. Just to let them know, like, listen, somebody loves you. Like, I don't know you, but I love you. Because I know you're dealing with some shit right now, and it's probably too much for you to handle. But just know that if you need somebody to listen, I did that at work. You know, I work in the fucking supermarket.
Yeah.
Old lady that I speak, tell me to say she's old, an elderly woman said to me, you know, oh, you don't want to hear my problem. And I said, maybe I do. She goes, oh, you're so sweet. I said, listen, I don't know what you're going through, but if you feel like you want to talk to me, I will listen. She goes, you got to go back to work. I said, I will listen to what you have to say to me.
Right. I got time.
Yeah, like, don't hold it in. I'm giving you the opportunity to talk to me. Let it out. And she says, oh, I don't want to hold you up. And I gave her a hug. She started crying. And I knew something was bothering her. I didn't know what. She never told me, but I dealt with it the only way I knew how to deal with it. I dealt with it the way I would have wanted somebody to deal with it.
Right, if I was going through it.
When I was going through it, right.
So, as far as relationships and stuff like that, something I've learned within like the past 4 years maybe, well, I'll drop it down to 2, like last 2 years. When somebody's...
Shut up, Ebony.
You can't tell someone how to feel. It's dismissive, it's wrong, and you can disagree. It's like, oh, whatever you're feeling, I don't agree with. But to just say that, oh no, you're wrong.
But even if you say that, you're still dismissing them.
I know, but I'm saying, to say that is dismissive. So, you know, you just gotta listen to how they're feeling, rebut to it, but, you know, don't make them feel like small, because they're telling you how they feel.
You make it worse when you do that. And I can tell you from experience, you make it worse when you do that, because when you try to open up to somebody and they're telling you, you know, things of that nature, it makes you feel worse. It makes you feel like, why did I even try to like open up? Now I feel even smaller, you know? And like I said, and for anybody listening, if you know somebody that's dealing with depression, or you know somebody dealing with any kind of like issues, mental health issues, if you don't know what to say to that person, like, do not tell them to just tough it out, think positive, or you know, because really what you're doing is you're protecting your own energy.
We got a minute 30 seconds left. Just want to give everybody a heads up.
Oh, it's counting down?
Yeah, it does the countdown.
Well,
so we have that left. So if you want to say anything to sum it up with this last minute and 20 seconds.
But right off the top of the head, people of color, embrace your lows as much as you do your highs. You're not perfect. We all go through things. We all deal with trauma. We live in a systemic racist community, society that put us in these bad, mind states. It's okay to be vulnerable, but it takes a lot to admit that and just be strong about it. Listen, we all deal with different emotions. Like I said, everybody can't be happy all the time.
Right.
Everybody can't be cool all the time. You know, like, we deal with shit, and we have to be supportive of each other when we're dealing with our issues. And that's really it, you know? Like, depression, like I said, it's a real fucking issue, because kids are killing themselves behind it. And people are really dealing with these things, and they feel like they can't talk to anybody about it. And I feel like, you know, we should be there to support each other when we're going through these problems, and, you know, be there to lift each other out of that state of mind.